Hey guys, Rogorn here, welcome back to the channel, and recently on my channel I had posted a poll about what kind of video you would want to see this week, and even after just a day, the unanimous decision was a 3DS Panda overview. Now the problem is, I got quite a few of these, actually. But we're going to go in chronological order, and we are going to do this one because I don't want to take up too much of your time today. Now, for those who are new to development hardware, they might be asking, what is a 3DS Panda? Well, to put it bluntly, this is a 3DS development system. You're going to see quite plainly on this back sticker here, it's going to say Nintendo 3DS Development Unit, not intended for commercial sale. This was never meant to be in the hands of the public. And the reason it is called Panda, if you remember from the DSi Panda video that I made a little bit ago, it is meant to represent the black and white two-tone color shell that kind of looks like a panda. And in this case, doesn't look too much like a panda. From what I've seen, it looks more like a reverse Cosmos Black, if I'm being honest. But it is still considered a panda, so that's what we're going to call it. Now this one doesn't have an exact origin, but I have a pretty good idea of where this might have come from. Because the eBay listing that I bought this from a couple of years ago was a bit more than I had bargained for. So not only in this listing did I get this 3DS, but I had also received these cartridges. Now this one I have shown on my social medias before. This is a prototype of National Geographic Panda. I've had people look at this, comparing the code, and it is slightly different than a retail unit. This is likely similar to the Rock and Roll prototype. This is likely a press release, but unlike the Rock and Roll prototype, this one is not retail similar that much. There is some slight differences, like to get rid of debug features and stuff like that, but it is still technically a prototype, so what are you gonna do? And this one looks like it got ran over by a truck. This is a 3DS prototype cartridge, and this one looks worse for wear, and unfortunately the software on here is also a bit worse for wear. From the wonderful folks at the Rare Gaming Dump Discord, I was able to determine that this was what was supposed to be a prototype of Pac-Man in the Ghostly Adventures 2. Unfortunately, dumping the cartridge and or trying to play the cartridge on a development system like this one proved to be null and void, because I could not get this game to run in any facet, and neither could the folks on there. That being said, this was probably the biggest deal that I had gotten for a eBay purchase, because these were not listed. These were not listed. It was just this, and frankly, I only knew that this worked. I did not know where it came from. I didn't know what was on it. So we're gonna look at that today. Alright, and we got it up and running, and unfortunately the 3D slider, while technically the 3D slider does, while it does technically turn off, it really doesn't turn off. The switch is kind of busted on this, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, we're gonna take a look at what's on here. This has the dev menu, the config application, and the save data filer. So we're going to take a look at each of those applications and see what's up, starting with the save data filer. Alright, and this is revision 61496, and there is nothing on here. Absolutely nothing. It is a very blank looking application. Usually there would be some save data here, but it clearly does not, so very underwhelming, but we still got more to look at. Alright, moving on to the dev menu, and there we go. We got the config application here under program, save data filer as well, and then we got some dummy data title, Miiverse post for US, browser for US, and Miiverse portal for US, but these are highlighted in red, so it's unlikely that I'm actually going to be able to turn these on and get these working. Moving over to SDMC, there's no SD card, so there's nothing there. HIO, nothing found in dev menu root, so we can skip that. And no external data as well, so again, a little bit underwhelming, but it is what it is. Then we move over to the config, and there's a little bit more going on here. And this is version 11.3.1, revisions 61.510. MCU version 2.37, DB version 0.57, and of course it has the serial number up there, which the 3DS is no longer being developed for, nor is it being sold, so I'm okay with being able to show that, unlike the dev Switch. So here you go, you got your menu settings to start off, and here you have your home menu, which you can change, I think, but I'm not going to do that. Then we got language, which you can change also, and then system mode, which I think is also pretty neat. Then we move on to debug settings, which you can do the exception handler, break stop, debug mode, DLP mode, I have no idea what that does, to be honest with you, fangate failure emulation, NUP, and FS latency emulation, which is set at 0 milliseconds. Going to user info settings. This is where there's a bit more information about, who might have owned this, sort of. Well, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, we got a username, we got an NG name flag, simple address country ID with United States, and a region ID of Oregon. And they both are categorized by number, which is kind of interesting. And then you have HID settings, which I believe this is, okay, that's touch panel calibration, and also analog stick calibration, which is also kind of neat. And then we move on to LCD flicker, LCD active backlight, luminance level, and backlight, all different settings you can do for that. Moving to RTC setting, you can change the system clock, which I think is kind of neato. Then raw RTC setting, which not sure what the difference is between that and just regular RTC, but my guess is that it is the default time in case the system reboots and doesn't, the clock battery doesn't keep track of the time, or however the 3DS keeps time, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think this is where it's you can change it to be whatever you want as the default date, and then you can RTC as whatever you set it to. And then the EULA settings, which you can actually read the EULA setting, and you can agree to different versions. Oh, that's pretty cool. And you can even edit. Oh, that is so sick. You can edit to agree to whatever version you want. Oh, that's actually kind of cool though. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then there's other settings like sound mode and Copac settings and OLV access key, whatever that is. And then there's test settings. You can test calibration. Oh, that's the analog stick test. Oh, that's sick. Okay. Oh, that's cool. All right. Stereo camera calibration setting. What? Oh, whoa. This is a bit out of my knowledge range. I think I'm just gonna back out of this. I'm gonna leave it on the screen for a second. If anyone knows what any of this means, feel free to let me know in the comments, but I'm not gonna mess with that. Alright, moving on, we got the gyro acceleration calibration for check, which, ooh, whoa. What? Okay, gyro X, gyro Y, gyro Z, and it has the RPMs, the sensitivity. Again, there's you can write the gyro strange data to config or reset it. Oh, that's pretty neat. I love that. Again, I'm not gonna mess with this because I'm not a dev. I'm not someone who works at Nintendo. I don't know what this does, and I don't want to ruin this system potentially. And then CTR setting, read CTR text from SD card and set CTR setting parameters. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And then we just have a reset all settings option, which we're not gonna do. We're gonna leave everything as is. But that's cool. That's actually really cool. I forgot all about the changing the ULA to whatever you wanted to, and agree to whatever version you want, and then testing those different like the analog stick. That's neat. I love that. All right, let's check the Wii Maker. All right. So clearly this has not been touched since it was purchased from Nintendo. So that's the start of the tutorial, which means nobody has made a Mii on here. So there's nothing to look at. the sound maker. Let's go and look at that. Here's a useful tip. Press the home button and return at any time to the home menu. Okay. There are no recordings on here, so that means this also was never used for anything. Well, I mean, it makes sense. This was to test software. This was not meant to diddle around with, really. Nintendo 3DS camera. Alright, looks like there's no pictures on here. Doesn't look like there is. Yeah, there is no photos or videos. Alright, so no, they didn't use this for photography either. Alright, well, that's fine, because you know what? We still have a couple things we can look at. Alright, let's go to activity log. Yeah. See what's on here. Now, my favorite thing to do with these development units is that to look at the software library. 12 titles played. Alright, that sounds cool. Alright, titles added. Those are prototypes that I have tested on this system, so those aren't from any specific developer that used this system, but what we can look at is Project X Zone 2 Brave New World, Bandai Namco Entertainment. This was played for 11 hours 10 minutes, played 21 times, average played for 31 minutes. First played on 9/30/2015, last played on October 2nd, 2015. Give me 1 second to check on those dates, because we may have something there. Aha, perfect. Looking up Project X Zone 2 Brave New World, for the 3DS version, it looks like the release date for Japan was November 12th, 2015, released in the EU on February 12th, 2016, Australia in February 12th, 2016, and February 16th, 2016 in North America, which means that this game was tested in prototype stages on this system before it was officially released in the United States. How freaking cool is that? And looking over here, we're going to have a National Geographic Panda as well, but who cares? Someone tested a prototype game on this system, which, again, leads to the theory of where I think this cartridge came from. Alright, moving into the system settings, we're going to check the other settings, the profile. Username is Yuri. Yuri is a popular character which is the intellectual property of, you guessed it, Bandai Namco. And that is obviously not who used the system, but the person who did use the system found it funny to use a Bandai Namco character as their username. And these clues continue to pile up. The Yuri username, the Bandai Namco prototype that was tested on this system, the Pac-Man and Ghostly Adventures 2 prototype that this came with, which was produced by Bandai Namco, and this Panda, National Geographic Panda prototype, which was also released by Bandai Namco, and the fact that this came from a town less than 8 hours away from Bandai Namco's US headquarters makes me think that this 3DS development unit came from Bandai Namco. Whether it was brought home by an ex-employee, whether it was thrown away, which, to be honest, it kind of looks like it did because it has a little bit of wear and tear, and plus the 3D slider's broken. And while I don't know the origins specifically of this 3DS and how it got into an eBay seller's hands, what I can easily guess is that this definitely came from Bandai Namco in the US. So yeah, a lot of detective work to find out where this one came from, because it was never mentioned in the listing, it was never mentioned by the seller. I had to figure this all out on my own using context clues. God, I am just big brain, 1000 IQ play. No smooth brains in this channel. Oh yeah, and we can't forget to test games on this thing. Starting with this regular 3DS retail copy of Mario Kart 7. Now, the assumption would be, is if this is a true dev unit, this game will not appear on the screen and you will not be able to run it. And surprise, surprise, it doesn't work as intended. So if this doesn't read retail cartridges, of course it should be able to read development cartridges. To test, we're going to use this LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. Then, well, nothing shows up in the game card slot. But that's where the dev menu comes in. And of course it's going to show up as a CTR card, and from there we can actually launch the game. And you're going to see the game loads right up. We even have access to the debug menu that this game actually possesses. And yeah, that's pretty neat. I forgot you can't use the home menu when you play this game. You have to actually restart the whole system. And of course, one of my favorite little hidden features is when you press X and Y at the same time, it brings up this little menu right here. As you can see, we got a bunch of information here. We got US English, we got the date of initialization, which was in 2015, and at the exact time even. Then we have the revision number, the system mode, and the screen capture, which has no setting because this is not a capture device. And here you have these little bars going on. Now, there's people that seem to know more about this than me, and they seem to think that these are performance bars for like the CPU and the graphics and all that, but I don't work at Nintendo, so I can't confirm nor deny that. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video. This was an overlook at just one of my Nintendo 3DS Panda systems. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more of videos like this, then please subscribe. Let me know down below in the comments. I love reading the comments. I love the feedback. I love interacting. Anyways, my name's Rogue Orange, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.